Got it.
The t-shirt says, "I love my mom."
All right, and our second commendation is for Jessica Kilpatrick. Jessica Kilpatrick has made an outstanding impact in her first year at Wakanda Elementary and is a recipient of the UW Eau Claire 2025-26 Teacher Education Early Career Educator Award. She skillfully differentiates instruction to support all learners while fostering a classroom culture of trust, belonging, and high expectations. Jessica is an innovative and collaborative member of her fifth grade team, creating engaging, student-centered learning experiences and integrating technology effectively. Her empathetic approach to student behavior and strong commitment to continuous growth distinguish her as an exceptional early career educator. Congratulations. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Okay, got it. It's hard. Okay. Congratulations. Thank you.
All right, next up, we have our May highlight on youth.
Okay, to present our highlight on youth report is going to be Wakanda Elementary Principal Diane Schofield. Diane, we got a microphone right there for you next to Tonya. Make sure you just press the button and it'll turn blue. And Diane will give us our May highlight on youth.
Great, well, thank you. This is really exciting. I always enjoy the highlight on youth, and so to have the opportunity to share with everybody is great. Menominee High School, I'm sure, can highlight so many amazing things. They highlighted their students who are part of the International DECA competition that was held in Atlanta, Georgia. Also, we had prom 2026, both obtaining their royalty, and then students attended and had a grand march, raffle, and of course dancing. Their Science Olympiad team placed fourth at the state competition, which capped off another very successful year. The juniors and seniors participated in their Youth Career Expo. The Menominee Chamber of Commerce helps with that and assists with that. And students who were involved with the FFA competed at, I'm not even gonna try, agronomy contest, which sounds amazing, and clearly I have lots to learn, so I've got to find some more FFA friends to tell me more, but sounds super exciting. The middle school highlighted all of their great work for Earth Day. Their sixth grade students spent the day at the environmental site, and seventh and eighth graders spent the time cleaning trails, cleaning our local parks, planting trees, and beautifying their middle school campus. Knapp Elementary had lots going on and highlighted their Science Olympiad team as well. Their fourth and fifth grade placed third in our district competition, and they called out Jen Dickman, who is their coach for that. Fifth graders completed the DARE program, and Deputy Rebecca Merrifield was part of that. And Knapp students also, along with the DNR and our esteemed school board member, Dale Dahlke, participated in their annual trout release at Knapp Pond. Oaklawn Elementary had their second and third graders perform a very food-themed concert called Try Everything. That was exciting and fun. First grade hosted a lemonade stand that went with the goods and services unit, and their Science Olympiad team also participated in many events that were held at that district-wide competition at the middle school. River Heights had a book author visit in honor of Hmong Heritage Month. Also in celebration, they had students and staff that dressed in traditional formal Hmong clothing. Kindergartners and first grade students did a fantastic job at their animal-themed concert. And Buddy Classrooms created Mayday baskets to give to special neighbors. And finally, Wakanda Elementary. We enjoyed very much our kindergarten and first grade who took us on a musical journey. It was quite exciting to learn about all sorts of national celebration days that happen throughout the year and kind of themed the concert around that. Our fourth graders had a visit from those FFA students from the high school, so we love it when we get a chance to have our high school students come and present, and so the agriculture class came down and visited with a number of animals that they had. And then it was our walkathon time. So our annual walkathon and field day, we're so grateful. We had really nice weather and lots of our families come and join us for that, as well as we walk and be active outside.
That's wonderful, thank you. The highlight on youth is so fun all year, but at this time of year when there's all the field trip photos and the visit photos, it's like especially fun to look at.
Before you go, Mrs. Schofield, just a couple things. I did want to mention that the high school international students came to the Rotary Club last week and put on a real nice presentation in terms of their home countries and also about their experience here in Menominee, and that was very informative for the Rotary Club members. Also, our middle school in our SWORD program hosted what was called a poetry slam, and Steve Renfrey came in as kind of the master of ceremonies, and it was really well done. Really proud of our students they all contributed in some manner or another. And then Mrs. Schofield already mentioned the walkathon. After my watch went off at about 4 o'clock saying that I had like 0 steps today, I was like, I better go. So I went quick, and Jill and I went up down the path on Pine Avenue. In the Monday Milers program, that's the most kids I think I've ever seen. Could you just explain, so Wakanda, every Monday they do that during good weather?
Yep, so we actually host a fall Monday Milers. It's about 4 to 6 weeks depending upon weather and what we can do. And then also in the spring, Mr. Nas, our PE teacher, and Miss Nikki, our math interventionist, are kind of our lead people for that. I understand this is something that's been going for 14 years or so. We've got 4th and 5th graders, primarily who we offer to in the fall. Depending on our numbers, and our numbers have been so great and big, sometimes we offer it to our 3rd grade as well in the spring. So yes, we've got that going right now. It's great participation. Mr. Nas is also piloting a program that we're gonna have this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, to try a bike club as well. Our location is so great and exciting to be able to get onto our trails, and so just finding more ways for our kids to have those lifestyle activities, and finding ways for our families to be involved too.
Yeah, Mr. Nas was circling back with his bike to make sure there were no stragglers, and he stopped and he mentioned the bike program. So I said, well, I have a school board meeting coming up here. I'm gonna make sure we mention that tonight. So thank you to him, and thank you to everyone at Wakanda for providing those healthy opportunities. What a great day to get those kids out and be active.
Yeah.
You get some steps.
Thank you for all of that. Next up, we have our student representative communication. So welcome to our last meeting with the student representatives this year.
Good evening, members of the school board. We have a lot of great news and accomplishments to share with you tonight for our last school board report.
Unified PE athletes competed in the Splash and Dash adapted swim meet at Eau Claire North on Friday, April 24th. This was the team's first swim meet, and they had a strong showing. A total of 6 athletes competed with their general education mentors' assistance. Students rose to the challenge of a new athletic event and came out with a lot of success. 7 of the athletes competed and placed in at least one of their races, with 2 of the adapted swimmers winning multiple events.
The Mighty Mustang Track and Fight was held on Friday, May 8th. For our adapted athletes, this is one of the biggest days of the year. The event has grown and now has over 100 athletes with disabilities competing from 11 schools, including both Menominee Middle and High schools. The whole BRC planned on attending this year.
It's been an action-packed month for academic and career planning programs. We hosted a career fair at MHS, giving our juniors and seniors a chance to network directly with regional employers. A group of seniors got an inside look at Anderson Windows facilities, while other students participated in the Push Hands-On Career Day in Rice Lake. A group of 40 students visited CBTC, and members of the National Honor Society toured the campuses of UW-La Crosse and Winona State University. Local McDonald's representatives presented to our freshmen to share professional tips on the interview process, and 15 students took part in city bus navigation tours.
Every MHS Forensics member who competed at the district competition moved on to the state competition. The MHS Forensics team had a strong final performance, with many students earning gold, which is a perfect score, silver, or bronze. A special congratulations to Addie Root and Abby Shields for earning double gold medals. The team also won the top WISDAA award, the Excellence in Speech Award. This accomplishment This accomplishment makes 16 consecutive years of this award for the team.
The FFA agronomy team earned a trip to UW-Madison to compete in the FFA Career Development event. The team members are Kendra Schmidt, Isaac Nielsen, Hunter Langman, and Drew Wittig. Congratulations to the agronomy team. The Menominee FFA also hosted the 69th Annual FFA Awards Banquet on Friday, May 8th. FFA members were recognized for many of their accomplishments over the past year, along with internship employers and senior students earning certificates for completing their employability skills.
In April, FCCLA traveled to the State Leadership Conference where Kate Schofield served as an ambassador and voting delegate Darla Woodford competed in Level 3 Baking and Pastry Star event. She had to take a qualifier exam and scored a 99%, which earned her an opportunity to compete in the baking event. She traveled to Baraboo High School where she baked 4 items, including choux pastry, coffee cake, cookies, and decorated cake. Darla earned a silver and qualified for the national conference in Washington, D.C. in July. She will be traveling there in July to compete.
The leadership class, along with Coach Jockinson, ran a phenomenal picnic for the district SOAR program. Leadership students took time to participate and interact with students who have disabilities across our district. SOAR students and staff had a wonderful time playing games and getting to interact with other students in our district.
Students with intellectual disabilities have been volunteering their time at Hoofbeat Therapeutic Healing Center this spring, getting it ready for the summer therapy season. As a bonus, they get to spend quality time with the animals, considered a free therapy for those who are volunteering. Hoofbeat has received a generous grant from Foster's Outsiders that will allow more of our students to visit the farm and engage with the horses.
Amy McMahon's exuberant music students visited Knapp Elementary last week to meet their pen pals that they have been communicating with all year. The students enjoyed a couple of games of bingo during their short visit. Amy McMahon has run an incredible exuberant music program at the high school for a couple of years now. Her fun ideas have engaged the students and allowed them to create beautiful music together. She will be missed.
A special congratulations goes out to Annabelle Weber for qualifying for the FBLA Nationals in San Antonio, Texas, June 29th through July 2nd. She will be competing in the Introduction to Parliamentary Procedures event. Best of luck to her.
This last week, we also celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week. The Student Council hosted a taco bar lunch for the MHS staff.
And that's all we have for tonight. Thank you, guys. And I just want to add a little thing. I'm sorry. I've been coming here for like the last 3 years, like since my sophomore year, and it's been very fun. It's always one of my favorite parts of Student Council, coming to share what's going on in the high school. So thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. And also thank you for the little gifts too. That's very kind.
It's all Jenny.
Thank you so much. That was a really wonderful update. I mean, every update is so wonderful. It's so fun to hear everything that's going on, and you do an excellent job of keeping us informed. So, really grateful. Have a wonderful summer.
Thank you.
Do you know who's gonna be here next year?
It's gonna be Elizabeth, Beck, and Leah Moskowitz, yeah.
Wonderful.
Yes, thank you guys.
Next up, we have community communications. We have one speaker tonight, Josie Hellman.
My name is Josie Philman and I'm from Knapp, and that's part of the SDMA school district. Dr. Zadowski and members of the board. I understand that any district resident may raise objection to instructional material used in the district's educational program. The board has delegated the responsibility for review of materials to a reconsideration committee made up of citizens and educators who make their decisions based upon careful study of the material in question. The reconsideration committee, a standing committee, shall be appointed by the district administrator during the month of May prior to its term, which will run from September 1st through May 31st of the following school year. The committee shall include a building administrator, central office administrator, elementary teacher, secondary teacher, district library media coordinator, and 4 district residents. The district shall not discriminate in the selection and evaluation of instructional and library materials on the basis of, among other things, sexual orientation. We are now in the month of May when our district administrator, Dr. Zadowski, is appointing the reconsideration committee. He has the opportunity to appoint 4 district residents. They could potentially have a different worldview, perspective, or educational philosophy than the rest of the committee, not having been so highly influenced by the educational establishment. Perhaps a pastor could give insights into the morality of the material. Perhaps a farmer or a construction worker or a medical professional or a businessman could be one of those district residents. I'm quoting again. The district shall not discriminate in the selection and evaluation of instructional library materials on the basis of, among other things, sexual orientation. What is sexual orientation? We orient sexuality according to what feels good, LGBTQ perversions rather than your biological sex, is that it? Or immoral sexual behavior is accepted, encouraged, and celebrated? Is this wholesome teaching on human sexuality? Is this non-discrimination? I would say this reconsideration committee may want to discriminate against books that would offend the conscience of some residents of our community, especially when dealing with books directed at little children who have not yet developed the emotional maturity to have critical thinking skills or to make judgments on what is right or wrong, truth or lies. Remember my past experience with this reconsideration committee challenging an immoral children's book was a unanimous decision that the book stays in. I'm asking the school board to give Dr. Zadowski some guidance to choose residents with a moral compass as he chooses district residents for the reconsideration committee this May. Thank you.
Right, next up, we have the revenue and expenditure reports for the month ended April 2026.
Yeah, as usual, I'll start with the revenue report. Total revenues increased pretty significantly from March to April. Fund 10 revenues increased from approximately 19.6 million last month to now just over 29 million for April. The largest drivers of that increase was an additional equalization aid payment, which we received in April, along with continued property tax collections coming in as expected. Looking at the expenditures by object report, one category that continues to trend upward is travel and transportation. As you can see, it's approximately 2.24 million year to date compared with last year of 2.07 million at the same point last year. This is from rising fuel costs due to continued instability in energy markets, and that's beginning to translate into higher expenditures in that category. Finally, looking at expenditures by function report, operations, maintenance, and facilities is pacing somewhat higher than last year. Portion of the increase is related to various HVAC repairs and facility-related items at the high school and middle school. The overall budget in that area is also slightly lower than last year, which makes the percentage spent appear somewhat higher at this point in the fiscal year. So those are the main items I wanted to highlight this month in the reports.
Any questions or discussion on the revenue and expenditure reports? All right. Seeing none, we will move on to a monthly employment report. This is an informational report presented to the board. Any questions or discussion? All right. Then on to the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by A, second by Dominique. Tonight we have approval for the minutes of the regular board meeting of April 13th, our reorganization meeting of April 27th, and our special board meeting of April 27th. Financial reports, approval of general fund checks totaling $2,252,666.89, and cash receipts totaling $442,282.64. Donations exceeding $1,000, we had $1,908.22 in donations from various community members to our food service angel fund. And the Wakanda PTO donated $2,372.10 to support Wakanda Elementary end of year field trips. And then finally, on our consent agenda tonight, we also have a renewal of the SDMA voucher transparency resolution. We discussed this a little bit last meeting, and then afterwards, we discovered there was a typo in the original resolution that we all signed. And so in the interest of having a perfectly worded resolution and having the signature of our newest board member, we'd like to authorize a renewal of that we can sign it. Any questions or discussion? All right, let's vote. I just also want to say the typo was very minor and nobody should be blamed for that. And none of us caught it.
Here's everybody but yours. I vote yes. Okay, I'm gonna revote.
And motion passes unanimously. Next up, we have the personnel consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move maybe. Second deal.
Thank you. Tonight, we have one resignation and 3 new hires to approve. Any questions or discussion on the personnel consent agenda?
How challenging do you expect it will be to fill the resignation?
Well, the resignation referred to is a tech ed teacher at the high school. I'm happy to report that Mr. Drake has been on top of it. We were actually hoping to have one for hire tonight. We're hoping by end of the week. So candidate pools are small, but we're still doing pretty well.
Excellent, thank you.
That's great news. Any other questions or discussion? All right, let's vote. And motion passes unanimously. On to the action agenda. First up, we have an action to approve the transportation contract for 2026-27. I'll entertain a motion.
I propose.
Second. Great. Motion by Emily, second by Michelle. Do you want to say anything about this?
Actually, first, Michelle was the committee member that represented the board in the discussions. Eric Nelson, the business manager, myself, and Michelle met with Kyle and Ryan Howell from Menominee Transportation. Michelle, anything you want to share?
I'll just say this is the second consecutive year that I did this, and they never cease to just wow me. It's always a very good working session, and there's a lot of trust in the room right now, so we're helping keep the relationship that we currently have going.
So the proposal that was discussed and that ultimately Michelle and Eric and I are bringing as a recommendation to the board is to increase our transportation contract by the 2.63 inflationary index that is being applied to other school district expenses for next school year. In addition to that, we did hear from Menominee Transportation about how inflation has impacted their ability to purchase new buses. And they requested that we allow an extra year on the age of the buses that are allowed to be used in regular routes. They said that with their mechanic, they've been getting very good performance out of their current fleet. Also, and one of the most important things to me anyway, and I think the other people in the room, was that all buses are inspected by the state patrol regularly. So even if we allow for a little older bus to be used, it still has to meet all the different inspections. So we talked about it, we felt that allowing them a little more flexibility on the age of the buses by 1 year is something that would make sense in this relationship, and they seem very appreciative of that. So again, the recommendation is to increase the contract by 2.63 and allow for an extra year on the age of the buses.
Any questions or discussion? All right, seeing none, let's vote.
Jay, yours didn't come up. Do you want to give Jenny a voice vote? They're not home.
And motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Michelle, for your service on that committee again. Next up, we have an action to approve revisions made to policy 443.5, student use and/or possession of electronic communication devices. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Dave.
Second, Dale.
Wait, do you want to say anything about this?
Sure, so this policy has actually been reviewed twice. If you recall, 2 meetings ago, we had an initial version, and the board had some very good feedback on how it could be streamlined and more understandable. So a number of changes were made between the first meeting and the last meeting. Nothing has changed since the board reviewed this a couple weeks ago. So now it's ready for your approval here tonight.
I think it's a good policy to try, and I think it's, after the revisions we saw, I think it's well written and will make sense to people. I did see a couple days ago an article, there's a education news site, 74 or 74million.org. They had an article just come out a few days ago on a study about cell phone bans and what the results were over the last several years in different districts. So there's some interesting results. In these studies, the bans do work. Cell phone use does measurably decrease by a dramatic margin, so it's not like it's things are being snuck through or ignored. A couple things are noticeable. In the study, they found that for the first year, there was maybe more disciplinary activity, probably because of kids being used to the policies. And then after that, disciplinary issues decreased dramatically. Likewise, students' self-reported well-being was challenging the first year and then got better than it would have been otherwise the second, third year, right? So there's maybe a little bit of we should expect a little bit of a backlash effect, a little bit the first year, and then see how people adapt and improve things overall. That study was not finding consistent academic achievement gains. So if we're expecting this to solve, high school improvement plan type things whole cloth, it won't. It's one of a suite of tools, but I think it's a good move, and I think it's a wise thing to do.
This policy change puts us in compliance with the Wisconsin Act 42, but it also is not terribly dissimilar to what's been in place for the last 2 years. Is that correct?
That's very correct. And just to be clear, it's not a bell-to-bell ban at the high school. And that's what's currently in place. It does ban cell phone use during instructional time. At the middle school, right now, the current practice is not to have the cell phones available for bell-to-bell or the elementary schools. I know that's something the board had talked about in the first discussion about having different expectations for the older students. We certainly can go back to something of a bell-to-bell prohibition at the high school. We are concerned with enforcement, the ability to do that, but just to be clear, this policy is not written for that.
Any other questions or discussion on the updates to policy 443.5? All right, let's vote. And motion passes unanimously. Next, we have the action to approve changes to the employee handbook for 2026-27. Entertain a motion. Motion Dupree.
Second, Dave.
And are we looking at any changes since we reviewed this in discussion at last meeting?
No, there's no changes since the last meeting's discussion, but I do want to point out, I know there was a fairly lengthy discussion last time regarding a filing fee for a grievance that would reach the level of an independent hearing officer. And we told you that we would do some research and come back and share. Based on what we found, we're still recommending the $100 filing fee. We will say that it's very kind of haphazard in what we found. There are many districts that it's mute on that point, so I don't know if that assumes that there's no fee. We did find at least one district in our area that has the entire cost of the fee covered by the employee. We thought that was very strange, and we don't think that's appropriate. But, you know, probably the most comparable one we found was in Eau Claire. I think their filing fee is $75, so ours would be just slightly more than that. I don't know if that fee has changed in the last 5 years or not.
No, and I can actually confirm that with their HR manager this afternoon.
Okay, so we think it's reasonable. Again, it's a little skin in the game. We also don't think this is gonna be something, I mean, I think I can only think of one grievance where a IHO was used in the last decade. So we don't think it's gonna be a highly used thing, but we think it's, based on the legal advice we received and the recommendation from our attorney, we feel like it's appropriate to bring to the board.
Any questions or discussion? This might not be something that the person you spoke with in Eau Claire could know, but do you know if they thought that that policy had had any impact?
He didn't mention that at all. There was an email kind of exchange back and forth, so, I don't think so, but I also didn't ask like how frequently it had been used either in their district.
I suppose it's also hard to measure because you can't count what doesn't happen. Any questions or discussion? All right, let's vote. Motion passes unanimously. Finally, on the action agenda, we have an action to approve the 2025-26 budget revisions. I'll entertain a motion. So moved.
Second.
Motion by Angie, right? Second by Jake. It looks like we have some updates from when we talked about this 2 months ago, is that right?
Yes.
All right. Do you wanna walk us through them?
Sure, so compared to the budget revision that was presented previously, this version includes, several expenditures that were being moved from Fund 46 into Fund 10. In order to offset those expenditures and keep Fund 10 balanced, portions of the employee benefits budget were reduced, because those would by the end of the year be overstated. So, earlier in the year, benefit insurance costs were budgeted conservatively due to just uncertainty and volatility that can come with claims activity. So it's, as the fiscal year has progressed, we're having a clearer picture of the actual costs. So it became apparent that perhaps that those were overstated, and so that's why these adjustments are happening between Fund 10 and Fund 46.
That makes a lot of sense to me. When you say the benefit expenditures, do we see that in the regular curriculum? Like, is that the line item where that is reflected?
Yeah, so that would, well, and that would be found in the series of 250,000 series. So that it had some costs associated with it, but then also some drawn out, so it was a total then of an increase of 246,000. So there was some in and outs in that account. And then the decrease in those, like 111,000, those were as a result of some Fund 46, interactive panels that were moved and things like that, so.
Thanks for explaining that. Any other questions or discussion on the budget revisions? Excellent, then let's vote. Motion passes unanimously. Before we move on to the discussion agenda, you want to say something?
Yeah, since we're talking about budget revisions, I would just like to let the board know that, based on what we heard happened today in Madison, Eric and I and pretty much all business administrators of schools in Wisconsin are kind of scrambling right now to see what, the potential agreement will do for our schools. If you didn't hear, Governor Evers, along with the leaders of the Assembly and the State Senate, have reportedly come to an agreement on how to deal with the large state surplus down in Madison. It appears that what we advocated for in terms of additional special education funding should come to fruition. Also, we're hopeful that there'll be additional investment in school aids. It is important to note that if there's increase in special education reimbursements, that will provide us more revenue. Because as you know, we're transferring millions of dollars from the general fund to make up for shortfalls in special education. So that would reduce our general fund transfer and actually help our budget. We're thinking it could be, we really only have ballpark figures right now, but we're hopeful that it could be up to maybe even $200,000 this budget year, and then more in the following year. In terms of state aids, that would not impact our spending authority at all. That simply would reduce the tax levy next tax year. But still, we really think that would be helpful because with revenue limits increasing modestly, but there was no state aid in the biennial budget, so that all got pushed on to taxpayers across Wisconsin through property tax assessments. So we think that'll be very helpful for taxpayers, even though again, it doesn't necessarily help our school district. And then there's other provisions. It sounds like there's a rebate check for filers from 2024. Was it $300, Brian, for single filers and $600 for families? But we're still trying to see how the dust is going to settle. It sounds like there's going to be a meeting of the Joint Finance Committee, and then the Assembly and the Senate will be meeting this week, hopefully, with the idea that this will be signed into law by next week. And if that happens, we'll do the best that we can. We always try to make sure we're providing you with good recommendations to maximize our revenue, also maximize our state aid, to keep our tax levy as low as possible in the following year. So we'll continue to look at that and report back to you in June.
Do you think it would be meaningful to include a legislative advocacy update on our agenda next time, given all what's going on right now?
I think it'll probably be wrapped up before that. We don't meet again until June 8th. We certainly could talk about the impact, but I think if something's gonna happen, it's gonna happen in the next 7 days.
Right.
But with that being said, Rachel, I'm not trying to tell anybody how to advocate, but if you are inclined to advocate, now is a very good time. I did text Clint Moses today, went back and forth a little bit. I think the Assembly is fully behind this. I'm not, based on what I heard from Clint, I'm not sure if the Senate is as solid. So anything that you might want to do, now is the time.
Any additional questions or discussion? All right, on to our discussion agenda. First up, we have a review of student and parent handbook for the 2026-27 school year. So we have we have the drafts of changes to the high school, middle school, and elementary school handbooks. Do you want to walk us through these?
Sure, and I appreciate the work that the principals did. You can see not only is there the full handbook, but also an executive summary, so you can see the changes. Most of the changes are all editorial, yearly, annual updates. I will say that with the new cell phone policy being approved, this is kind of a first review. I think that's something as we meet as a lead team tomorrow. We'll take another look at that cell phone language, and now that it's approved by the board, to see if any modifications have to take place. But otherwise, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Do board members have any questions on these handbooks for next year?
In regard to the high school handbook, can you give us a quick version of how that final grade appeal process changed?
I'll ask Mr. Drake to come on up if that's okay. You can just sit next to Tony or Sam, wherever you want to go.
change, really is in kind of some language in that first in letter A. We still had language in there about sending, like mailing our report cards home, and once we did that, that would initiate the process. We don't mail, report cards home anymore, so when we saw that, we're like, oh gosh, when should we start the process, if it's in the window or not, so we figured, after we had one grade appeal this year, that we would go back and change and just say 2 weeks from the end of the grading term, of that window, and then that's when they would have the, time to submit a, appeal. That's the biggest thing, otherwise it's pretty much the same.
Great, thank you for explaining that. I was trying to go back and forth and like figure it out, that makes sense. And so you think that kind of 2 weeks is a similar window to what it used to be in terms of the, when postcards were mailed?
Correct.
Yeah. Any other questions on, I guess, any of the handbooks? Just a logistical question, in the middle school handbook, in the areas where there's a highlighted yellow, is it accurate that the highlighted yellow is the new language and the old language is not here?
I'll have to double check that, Rachel.
Okay. All right, if there's no other questions, we will move on and we'll vote on this in June, possibly with some changes on the cell phone policy. Great. Next up, we are reviewing plans for the Wisconsin Association of School Boards Setting the Record Straight publication. So I appreciate all the input that folks have given and the effort that we put into kind of breaking this down and thinking about what's important and what we want to highlight. I'd like to propose that we take this time to start thinking about potentially establishing an ad hoc committee to establish a communications plan, kind of lay out what are the points we want to make, what's the timeline on which we want to make them, what are the audiences we want to try to reach, and what the methods are of doing that. Thoughts?
I'm all in.
Great.
Sort of fall down, that wasn't. No, I'd be happy to participate in that. I like that, and that strategy is exactly how I would approach that in my professional life as well. And I think having something like that in writing will sharpen our thinking and give us something to react to, which is a little bit, can be a little more productive than the abstract conversation too. So happy to participate in that.
Great, thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to call your attention, I did send it to Rachel and Joe, but because, I don't want to send it to the whole board. If you're not aware, WASP, and you may have seen this, I think it's every Tuesday it comes out with one of the claims, and it has a nice little visual with it, and there's been 2 now, the first 2 claims, and those visuals are really good. In fact, WASP has been posting them on Facebook, and I usually forward them or share them, and I've been getting some traffic on that. So just to let you know, for that ad hoc committee, that might be something that you might want to look at, because it's kind of the wheels already kind of sort of invented. Were you in that way? So I just wanted you to be aware of that that's happening as well.
Yeah, that's super good to know. Oftentimes visuals work better for certain audiences, and I'm not a visual person at all. I can't work my way around the design stage, so that'd be great.
Yeah, I think we've got some good resources as a starting point too. There's been additional information from Wisconsin Policy Forum and the Association for Equity and Funding. Is there anyone else who has a burning desire to join such a committee?
I would love to be a part of it for the community conversation part of it. I would really like to be a part of it.
I think that's awesome because Angie was also instrumental in the kind of community outreach work we did 2 summers ago, and I think there's a lot of time in there.
I am absolutely willing to be a part of it. I would like to be a part of it. I don't know how big of a group you want, though.
I think a committee of 3 is a great number. That keeps us out of quorum territory, but also doesn't put too much, onus on one or two people. So to me, 3 seems great.
I don't want Phil to mention I'll be gone for 10 days.
Okay.
Me starting Thursday.
Oh.
That would be a problem.
Next 2 weeks for me are a little bit crazy anyway, so, I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
It depending on what the time sensitivity is, but that would be.
I guess that was gonna be my next, question to the board is the timeline. I think that, the summer months are going to be a really good time to dig into this and to be able to have, first of all, time to reach people when they're maybe having a little bit more, mental freedom, but also be ready at the start of the school year, when parents especially start paying closer attention. Yeah, go ahead.
If you'd like, Jenny and I would be happy to assist in trying to coordinate a meeting time for those 3. Also, I guess my question would be is, would you like school district involvement as well, or not? Either way is fine.
That's a great question. One thing that could happen is that the committee could meet, start to figure things out, and then decide what school board involvement you might need. In other words, kind of as you start to make a plan, do you want to pull Joe in? Do you want to pull, does that make sense?
Sure.
Does that make sense to you?
Do you want help coordinating, or are you 3 gonna coordinate yourselves?
I think we can.
Great.
One thing we should watch for, the last time we did this, I know that when it came time to doing things like actually sort of maybe setting a date or reaching out to other board members for input, we started making sure we went through you and Jenny, which allowed us to not have to worry about the local meeting issues.
Yeah, I still think it being charged by the board, even though it doesn't reach quorum, I think it makes sense to notice the meeting if possible.
Oh, okay, sure. So maybe if the committee members feel comfortable setting up your planning and meetings, but communicating that, maybe, CC you on everything?
Sure. If wants to see it.
Yeah. Fine. Any other thoughts or reactions to that plan?
I just wanna say thank you for being on the committee.
Yeah, I do appreciate everybody, jumping in to volunteer so early. Do you folks have anything else they wanna say, I guess, on this topic? I think that, we brought this up and we started the discussion around this publication, to talk about how we wanted to use the information that WASB was sharing there and what we wanted to do to try to communicate that out to the broader community and district. Are there any thoughts, I guess, about whether, obviously we don't exactly know where the committee's gonna go, but assuming that accomplishes the goal, or if folks have any thoughts about what else we might need from that?
I'm glad that WASB put together a document, but I think it's lacking in many ways, and I am very pleased we have people with professional communication experience, who are willing to take that information and rephrase it for our community in a way that's contextual. So I think, other than that, I don't have any current, thoughts about what to say, because I think I'm very pleased that we'll be figuring out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just 2 things. When I think about audience, there's 2 main opportunities that occur during the summer. One would be the newsletter, the back to school newsletter that goes out. Not that you want to do anything probably more than a page or 2. The other piece would be is we have the annual meeting, is that the 4th Monday in August, Jenny? And we always have a presentation at the annual meeting, a slide or 2 on these topics would be another great opportunity.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I also think, we can stay in touch and figure out after, maybe second meeting in June or going forward in July, if we want to add that to an agenda, just as discussion and update item too.
Just a comment on Act 20, so the $9 million was released for the urban literacy coaches. 50 of our public schools and 4 private voucher schools are receiving the funding to hire literacy coaches. So I don't know if there's a way to incorporate, again, funding being put towards private schools, might be something to highlight with the Act 20 mandates.
Did you say 50 public school districts?
50 schools were identified to hire literacy coaches that are reading specialist licensed for 2 years. They'll be contracted through the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction, housed in the district, and they have certain tasks they have to show that they're meeting criteria of the work that they're doing in the districts. So specific schools, so like locally, I mean, there's a list of them.
Yeah, Rice Lake, Durand, I
Yeah,
think they were the closest ones.
yeah.
Interesting.
Rachel, one more piece on this, audience opportunity. I just asked Jenny, so if this committee wants something in the newsletter, probably mid-July, definitely end of July at the very least, but probably mid-July. And then annual meeting would be just a little bit further, basically like end of July, very first part of August as we're preparing those slides for the annual meeting.
Great. Is there any reason why we couldn't, expand have more than just a slide or two in the annual meeting? I guess if there was something where
You
the
guys
committee
can
had a
do- you guys can do
brilliant
whatever-
idea.
You guys can do whatever you want. It was just for conversation's sake.
Yeah, that's a great point. I hadn't thought about the annual meeting.
Although I don't want a 3-hour annual meeting.
No, we've done that before. But an extra 10 minutes would be fine. No more than 2 hours and 45 minutes. Other thoughts on the subject? And I think, there is no, reason to think that this work has to start and stop with that committee. If there's other folks who come up with, have ideas or things you wanna share, contact these fine folks or bring them to a future meeting.
Suppose in terms of making sure that anything's done, and the only action would be like approving the annual meeting slides at some point, which we usually do, right? There's not really any, I'm just making sure there's not any action we have to be worried about. I don't think there is, it's just recasting information.
The board will approve the agenda for the annual meeting. Typically, the board does not approve the slides, but there's nothing saying that the board couldn't review the slides.
No, I wasn't suggesting we need to, I'm just making sure there's nothing, if there's anything that would have to come back. Just making sure we have meetings in the summer that could happen at. I don't think there is though, Chris. I'm just thinking through what the rules would be if there's, a document is produced or something.
I understand, yeah. I think we don't have to worry too much about a need to take action. I do think it will be important to continue the discussion.
I think reviewing the materials makes a lot of sense, either July 13th or July 27th at the very latest.
Right. And if there's no other thoughts on that, we can move on to a review of plans for distributing the school board's resolution on private school vouchers. So I think this shows up in Word docs, but no, actually, I realize maybe it doesn't. We have been, offered a time at the Menominee City Council meeting a week from today, Monday, May 18th at 7 p.m. Well, at the last meeting, we discussed Abe and Amy taking that on. Do you still want to do that?
Well, some of you may know this, some of you may not. I am, a CISA 11 representative on the school district boundary appeal board, where, school districts, property owners like to try to move their property into a different school tax district. So I will not be here on the 18th, but that's okay, because if somebody else wants to go, that's fine. I have to be in Madison like really early on Tuesday morning, so I'll be staying in a hotel Monday night in Madison for 2 back-to-back hearings on, at the Office of DPI on that Tuesday. So unfortunately, I won't be able to be there, which I feel bad about, but,
there's nothing you can do, that's crazy timing.
Yes, well, this is the season for that. It happens to the month of May, because they have to have their orders if something changes by June 15th. So, yeah, it's quite a process, and so there's, if you wanna know more about it, I can certainly explain it, but they have these criteria you have to follow, and, you know, you can't just move into a district because, you know, your taxes are gonna be lower, or, you know, there's lots of different reasons, but, yeah, so unfortunately, I won't be able to make it, I'm sorry about that, but anyhow, I know that it'll be in good hands.
Thank you. You're still in.
I'm still in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it,
I was just saying, if anyone else wants to join as backup or solidarity or whatever, that's fine. But I can also handle it if no one wants to, but, so.
I am happy to also attend. I was actually planning on sitting in the audience and heckling, but since I didn't have to, but I could attend as an actual, just kidding. Okay, all right. I didn't mean that, I wouldn't heckle. Great, so they have said that, I was given a deadline of, I think noon tomorrow for, submitting slides that we'd like to have included in the board packet to the city council. So Dave has provided a draft, of those slides that are here in your board doc. That is the document titled the Tax Bill Transparency for STMA. Do you want to first take a minute to, share any thoughts folks have on those slides? I think Abe did an excellent job. It is very word heavy, but this is not something that goes out to a general audience, so hopefully this will be very appropriate for the city council members.
Yeah, I was concerned that, you know, as with our agendas, usually people are reading along with the material that's being presented, and also looking back at it for reference. So although it is wordy, the slides do kind of have to stand on their own, as long as someone can read, say, the day before the meeting, and without someone pointing at it, so.
Go ahead.
I think the slides are great. I do have just one little, thing, I think it's on page 8, I believe. At the bottom, you get listed all the school districts that are doing this or are in this process. At the bottom, you put of those bullet points, you have, we expect many more make this change in 2026.
I see, thank you.
Just a little typographic, we probably want to make it, we expect many more to make this change.
To make, more to make this change.
Other than that, I think they're great.
Thank you for proofreading. I missed that, as I miss apparently many proofreading errors.
It's okay, it comes from many years of being a school teacher, I guess.
Any other, proofreading comments, content comments, other comments? Yeah, Paul?
Just to clarify then, the ask is on slide 9, that red note on the bottom, that's the ask.
Yes, that's the, our slide, it's 7, right? So the example.
Oh, 7, sorry.
Yeah, so what I did was take the language, from Green Bay and Washburn and just superimposed it on a tax bill. And with the idea that the note has to appear somewhere. And, based on the other examples I saw, it appears to be either, just above or just below the bill portion of, the tax bill. And there's another note that's already in the Menominee, because tax information about Chippewa Valley Technical College on there already, there's kind of an informational note as well. So the ask would be to add that sentence or something substantially similar to it, in an appropriate location on the tax bill.
The only other thing that stood out to me is that so much of the tax bill shows the change from the previous year. I recognize that this cannot be long, but I think that change is so impactful, when the vouchers are outpacing the rest of.
So the suggestion would be to write in the previous year and the current year and the percent change as with the other items. I was thinking the same thing when I was drafting these. The only reason I didn't have that is because that language was not in the other examples that I saw. And, we know that the other examples have already gone through the Department of Revenue. So, and I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know what, if that would be a problem. I doubt it would be.
That's a good, you'd hate to have that slow it down.
I'd also like to just point out that on that slide number 7, this is an example of what our tax bill could look like. Our actual ask to the city council is that they put language on the tax bill. And this is our suggested language, but their resolution will determine
That's a good
what the actual language is, so we could suggest anything. And they could accept our suggestion or accept our ask, they could say yes to our ask and rewrite the language.
I wonder if Chris from Wheat Pen would have either already some sort of legal guidance on that, or B, access to legal guidance.
Yeah, that's great. I will ask her that question after this meeting. And if she doesn't foresee a problem, maybe I'll update that suggested sentence to include the percentage change. Another option is I could make, either another slide or copy of the slide with an alternative language and let the city council look at it and say, here's the sort of thing we'd like to see, and then offer the city council, they can choose that language themselves.
And when I was thinking about it, at first I was kind of along your lines, I was like, it'd be nice to have the numbers.
Yeah.
But then it's like, realistically, if it just had a comma and just said an increase of 7% from the previous year, something really short.
Isn't it more like 40%?
Yes.
Oh, yes. That's a good point too, and that's kind of consistent with the formatting there. So if you contact Chris after the meeting tonight, are you okay with doing that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And see if it makes sense to put that in there, and then, if you could send me what you wanna have in here in PDF format tomorrow morning.
You need to send that to the city council by noon.
Yeah, I need to submit it to Dave Schofield by noon.
Okay. Yeah, so I can certainly have, a final version with any of those minor changes by 9 AM.
Okay, not 11:55.
Not 11:55.
Okay. Great, yeah, I just checked my email to make sure I have that right, and it is due tomorrow, May 12th.
Are there any other types of changes or things that stood out to people, that either were maybe confusing to a new audience, or,
Any information you think is missing?
or information which is redundant or, excessive, which is more my tendency?
Nothing stood out to me.
Okay.
I think a number of people will not be seeing this information or will not be seeing this for the first time. But I think it'll be also relevant that, board members will be on hand to answer any questions. All right. Any final thoughts?
What's the date of that meeting again?
So that is 1 week from today, it's Monday, May 18th at 7 o'clock.
1 week and 9 minutes.
Thank you for clarifying.
And just to clarify, so my understanding right now is that this is to remain a board initiative. If there is any involvement that you want from Eric or me, just let us know. But right now, neither one of us are planning on attending that meeting.
Yeah, and all I really wanted to check, I basically stole the slide from the annual meeting, so, and updated the number that you offered recently, so, if there's any problems with the numbers, just let me know. I think I've used the numbers you've given us previously.
Yeah, I could update that number, because that was a projected number at the annual meeting, and then that has been solidified, so I could give you that number if you don't have it.
I think you gave it, yeah, I made a little red arrow, because there's actually an important impact, I think, of saying it's even going above projections, so, so the number I have is 1,385,854.
That's it, yep.
I would expect that after that meeting, there will be either questions we get during the meeting or follow-up coming from council members afterward that we might need to consult you two on.
Yeah, I'm glad you clarified, because there's a big difference between what's written on here and what it is right now. I mean, that's a huge, huge difference, so $500 million.
So additionally, on this, agenda item, I should have said this at the beginning, there's a reference, to the impact impact of voucher systems, voucher programs from the from where? From the legislative office, is that right? Sorry, that was shared here. Oh, I'm sorry, from the office of State Senator Jeff Smith, with an analysis, just additional information for folks. And then I have started a draft of a letter that we could send to the other municipalities in the district. This is, basically what I sent to, the city council with, language changed appropriately. I will note that after sharing this draft with Joe, I discovered that in one paragraph, I wrote that we were requesting to have board representatives speak to the council about the issue, and that should have said to the board about the issue. But anyway, this is a proposed draft, of a letter we would send to town boards and village boards. I mentioned, I think at the last meeting, that there had been a suggestion that we could send this letter out to all of the municipalities. We know that the city of Menominee is our top priority, and maybe, we will get some takers right away in terms of the various other municipalities in the district, but, we could start with this letter, see who kind of takes it up right away and figure out who we have to follow up with after that. Any thoughts about that process or about this draft?
I think it's a great process, and your letter is very, very well written. I appreciate it very much.
Now, I can bring on table that you didn't find.
Great.
In the paragraph that starts as a school board, the third paragraph says as. And as.
Oh, and as individual references, the rest of them, yes, thank you. That might have gone to, the mayor and city administrator.
So does that tell me we're gonna have a power struggle without proofreading now? Who touches what?
I'm not engaging in that, so you guys can. Any other thoughts, either on the process or on the draft? Anything you think is missing or unclear in that letter? Anything you think we're doing wrong or should be differently with the process? All right. So if folks feel good about it, I will double check the proofreading, and then, maybe we can follow up about making sure we've got, names and contact information of everyone needs to go to. And this would go from my email address, is that something everyone is comfortable with? Right.
This is a naive question, but I'm thinking of that. Menominee is the only actual city. The other rest are villages and townships, correct?
Right, it's all towns except for Village of Napa, I believe.
Okay, just-
Any other thoughts on this agenda item, which again is the plans for distributing the board's resolution on private school vouchers?
This is kind of redundant, but I just want to say thank you for the board for doing this, because this has been something that's been on my heart and brain since the day I started on the school board, when it was only $380,000 a year that went out, which was like 17 years ago or 18 years ago now. And so to me, it means a lot that the board is doing this, and I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for their support. And also, since I can't be there, but maybe go to some of those municipalities when it comes time. But anyway, I appreciate the work that you guys have all done to help this go forward. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think if all 12 municipalities take us up on this, there will be plenty of opportunity to share going to meetings.
Rachel, if we could have everyone sign the renewed resolution before you leave tonight, and everyone can use the same color pen, please.
That also didn't happen last time, but it looks more authentic that way sometimes. All right, if there are no final thoughts on that agenda item, we can jump to items related to next meeting dates or committees and reports. May 24th is the high school graduation at 2 p.m. in the high school gymnasium. May 25th is Memorial Day, there will be no school. June 1st is the CISA 11 Annual Delegate Convention in Turtle Lake, which our delegate will be Amy Swanson attending that. Last day of school for students is June 5th. Professional Development Day for staff, June 8th. We have a regular board meeting on June 8th at 5:45. And, our special board meeting for June, as a reminder, has been moved to June 29th. And any questions?
I have an addition. WePen has a school board, a new member, like onboarding training, that's on Zoom, Wednesday, May 20th at 6:30.
That is a really good point. We are, as a district, members of Wisconsin Public Education Network. It's possible everyone has got that information in their email inbox already. But if you are interested in attending and did not get that, I do believe their workshops are all free, but you usually have to register to get the Zoom link. So if anybody needs that, email, let me know and I can send it along to you. Or you can probably just find it on our website.
I have 2 shout outs. So you and I were able to go to the middle school, to Mrs. Johnson's class. Anybody else get to go? It was absolutely fantastic. And the students had a project where they were assuming the role of coming to talk to the school board about things they wanted to save, so subjects, specials they wanted to save, or electives, I should say. And they did fantastic. And I encourage them, if they ever want to come to a real school board meeting and talk to us, we'd love to hear from them. It was incredible. So shout out to the 7th grade, Mrs. Johnson's class. And then I'm a coach for Girls on the Run, and River Heights had a team. We finished, 16 girls had a 5K on Saturday, and it was incredible. I was so proud of all of them. So shout out to Girls on the Run, River Heights, and those coaches.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I had a really great time, and accidentally mortified my 13-year-old. So that's part of the joys of motherhood, I guess. I didn't even go to his class, but I was still in the classroom when he came in and was like, no. Okay, any other things anyone wants to add? Great. Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody.
Anyone wants to adjourn?
Yeah, don't board members until.
Not bad, how are you?
Not bad.
Great girls.